Dave here. How are you? Today is the 19th of May 2019, and as someone had just made comment there, no politics please. Australia, we had a federal election yesterday. The government was returned to power. That's all that I want to hear about it. So if you hadn't found out, that's what's happened. All right, now today, another busy show. I don't know how it happens. Anyway, so I'm going to hook straight in. We're going to keep on working on that dresser that my great-grandfather made. And I've tried to color match, and I'm getting really close because we're going to do some stuff to it today that some people will cringe. All for the good. What else have we got? Stanley No.5 plane. This guy here. This was given to me by my cousin last weekend. And I thought we'd do a little bit of a walk around it and sharpen the blade. I've got the Pro Edge here ready to go. Of course, the last time I did a sharpen, I think I used the Triton Whetstone. And both of them are great machines. I'm not endorsing either of them. It's just that I think they both have their purpose and you'd be happy with either way you went. Whether it's one of Triton or Atomic or whoever owns a Whetstone, they're great. The Sorby is great. It's just a whole lot quicker. All right, what's the other thing? Viewers, sheds and setups. We've got Dave from Wisconsin and a little bit more from Alaska. And win a pair of eyemuffs. Here we go, these guys here. You're not going to win these. They're mine. But George will send some out to you. Now, John Lafferty had a look at the competition. He said, Dave, he said, you've got on the competition, the title is Who Invented Eyemuffs? And then further down when you go through the different parts, when you follow the link in the description box below there, it says, what country do they come from or were they invented in? I'm happy. You can tell me the name of the guy who invented them, which is George Piera, or you can tell me Australia, which is where they were invented. You know, but you have to really concentrate and remember those hints that I just gave you there for that competition. And that will be drawn next week. This week, for the previous week we've just had, we've got winners for these guys for the Australian Timber, Tools and Artisans show, which will be on at Rosehill Racecourse in just under 3 weeks' time. And I will be down there. And I've written the name of the winners on the back. Okay, so I've already made the draw. And you want to know who the first person is? There you go, Cara. You've got 2 free tickets to the show. And I've got the next person here. I will draw a little bit later on in the show. There we go. Too much suspense. Now also, John Woodfine, who is one of the people who has been watching the show and been following on Facebook and in the Dave Stanton live stream chat group, or whatever you want to call it. Join if you want to. You can apply to join. Just go to davestantonfans.com.au. Oh, sorry, davestantonfans at gmail.com, or just go straight into Facebook and try and log on that way. See if you want to join. You know, everyone chats, everyone helps each other there. It's great. And so anyway, I will show this straight off. John bought a dovetailing jig, and it's a D4R, and I'll throw it up. He sent me a couple of photos. He's never used it. Now he's got the D4R, and I think it's the metric. He's in Australia. You need to send me an email if you're interested. All of the kits there, you can see the plastic coating is still on the router cutters. He's never even, he's looked at it and that's all he's done. What's the next thing? Now this isn't something I normally do, but you know, John has not been well, and he's looking at changing some of the things he's got. He's after $950. All of that retails for around $2,000 in Australia. So get in touch with me. I'll come back to this camera here. If you're interested, as I say, brand new D4R lead jig with all of the cutters, 3 of the adjustable collets, guides, bushes, and the vacuum arm that goes across the front. Bargain. Anyway, as I say, get in touch with me if you're interested. What else? The winners for the tickets, exactly, just talked about that. Support the channel through the Patreon links and the Amazon links below if you can. That's really very, very helpful. Keeps me going. And we all need to eat. Of course we do. Let's go down to the other end and we'll have a look at what we've been doing down there. I'm going to go to another camera and you can see where we're at. All right, there we go. I'm hoping everyone's well and that the show is coming through fine. I believe it is. I'm just turning the monitor around so I can see what's happening. I believe the show is coming through fine because no one's jumping up and down and saying, Dave, where are you? Here I am, here I am. Okay. All right. Now, you can see over here, these were living up here, on there, like so, on the top of the dressing table. This area here was a mount for a dirty big mirror that lived just there. If I pull this back a little bit and up, that might help you to see what's happening. So these boxes were here. The mirror mount smashed off when it fell off the back of the trailer. The front of this got grazed up big time. So what we're going to do is take that off and we're going to replace, we're going to glue a piece to the front of it or actually to the back. Now it's going to end up looking like this. Now this piece of cedar here is off the front. Remember last week I ripped the front off this. I didn't throw the offcut away. This is part of the offcut that's left. You know, you can see it was mangled. Because it's giving me a perfect match for the timber. Now there's a little bit of a crack there. I'm not concerned because this is all going to go at the back. So to give you a rough idea, instead of being like that, I'm going to turn it around like that and I'm going to shape that. We're going to do this all on the show right now. So I'll move this back. Oh, before I go too much further, color match. Now, this area here has been under the draw unit. So this was the original color before ultraviolet light and Mr. Sheen had got to all of this. I'm sure my mother used to just hit this with Mr. Sheen or some other polish and it's gone really dark and dull. But this is the area here that I've found that I'm going to try and do with, or that I have done so far with dewaxed white shellac. And I might go for standard shellac because it's just a little bit too blonde. I'd rather it went just a slightly oranger color like it used to go. We'll see how it goes. And then I went over the top of that with just a neutral wax. All right, first thing to do is get that one. And what I'm doing with everything that I'm taking off so I don't lose it is I'm putting everything in the drawers because everything was screwed together with these old-fashioned screws, which, yeah, is brilliant. All right, first thing to do, move this out of the way and turn this upside down. I'm going to do this with Arthur's own screwdriver. Tip this down a little so we can see what's going on. Look at these hand-cut dovetails. And look at that. It's just brilliant. Hand-cut. What a fit. What a fit. Okay, you guys are... okay, it's all coming through good. Excellent. I'm hoping it's still coming through. Now, down inside here, he's held the top on. So this is the top of the drawer unit. He's held the top onto these little units with these little tiny screws. Now, it just so happens that I also have all of Arthur's tools. So this is his screwdriver. And this, I was just amazed at how easy it was to take the screws out. Now, you probably can't see what I'm doing at the moment. Well, that's just a matter of unlucky. I need to take these off so I can run it over the jointer. Won't take long. In the meantime, I hope everyone's week has been good and anything. Did you get any new tools, new toys? Have you been working on any projects that you want to tell us about, or would you be able to send them in to me? And I will have a look at putting them on the show. It's getting hard for me to see down there. It's a bit dark. Nearly there. This last one I think should do it. It's always the way, isn't it? That last screw. Oh, I should have really taken these off. Can't believe it. That one screw does not want to come off. That one there's coming out. Beautiful. There's a bit of a blue, David. I'm tempted to put a screwdriver under and snap it, but I'm not going to. Give me a second. I'm going to grab another screwdriver from out in the shed, out in the garage. Won't be long. Which one? You know what? That one might do it. There we go. This is an old screwdriver I've had since I was an apprentice. An old ratchet screwdriver. This one might do it. Yeah, of course it's on the wrong direction of the ratchet. Fixed now. What a shame. You know what? I don't think it's going to come off. That one should come out. Wonder if this one will tap out. If I can get this part to pop off, it might work. No. It's in there for keeps, that one. You can see where I'm at. Down inside here, this one here is being really stubborn. Maybe if I approach it from the side there so you can see what's happening. Yeah, well that was a whole lot of fun. Look, that one's not coming off. I'm not going to work it on the jointer. I was going to run it over the jointer there, but unlucky. I'll pop those up there. We'll move on to the next part. So the next part, I'm going to take it over there and dock it on the Capex. I won't be long. So you can see what's going on over there. Grab the eyemuffs. Always the way, isn't it? Everything else has been coming off absolutely easy, but that one rotten thing decided no. Lasers on. Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Very, very, very close. So I'm going to just sneak it a touch more by bringing the saw blade down and pushing it up against the kerf, then turning it on. That's perfect. I'll do it on this one as well. Magic. Have a look at that. Okay, so that's what I've got. I'm going to give that a little plane in a minute, but what we're going to do next is go back up to the number 5, spin this around, try to tighten the brake to grip, then loosen. I might try screwing in first. Thanks guys. Look, what I might do is still get to it in a minute, but for the sake of keeping the show moving along, I will go back to this camera here. For the sake of keeping the show moving along, what I will do is I'll try that, but I'll also put the screwdriver in and give it a couple of taps with a hammer as I'm turning. It's like an impact driver. It's just the edge of that particular one rotten screw out of a dozen. They all came out perfectly. Isn't it always the way? Okay, so the plane. Now I'm going to walk you around the plane to start, just in case for anyone who doesn't know the parts of a plane. I just picked it up by the handle or the tote. The big fella at the back is the tote. The front is the front handle or the knob. They're the two parts you grab a hold of. The whole section here, all this part of the plane is called the body. This hole in the bottom of the body is the mouth of the plane. This bad boy that sits in here that holds on to the things that hold on to the actual blade is called the frog. This is a blade adjustment lever which makes the blade tilt left or right. This guy here is the adjustment screw that activates this little guy here. See that? That sticks up and it pushes the plane blade down or back up. So that is basically everything. Underneath is called the sole. Then we have the actual blade or the iron. This is called a chip breaker, and this screws onto the back of the blade. And this is called a lever cap. Okay, it's the clamp that locks down onto the blade to hold in position. And this is the lever cap screw. It's the thing that it locks onto. Now, plane blades in general are sharpened to 30 degrees. This is a bevel down plane. Okay, so the bevel is on the end. See that shiny part? That's facing down. The underside of the blade is flat. So the back of the blade should be flattened first, and that's what we're going to have a little quick look at. I don't know. It's not as important with a plain blade as it is with, it's not as important as it is with a chisel, because we're only working with the point. You know, it's still important, but not as important. See, I could touch that. It's not very sharp. I don't recommend you to do that, but you know, it's not very sharp. Now, this was given to me, as I say, by Rob, who is my cousin, and he arrived with a box, that, and there was some chisels, and an old black Stanley chisel, if you want to see it. There you go. An old black Stanley chisel. Now, these things are revered as being a very, very, very good chisel. Made in Australia, I believe. Very, very nice. Okay, so there's a few other ones in there as well. We're not going to bother looking at those at the moment. So I'm going to move the keyboard out of the way, and we'll go with a tip. Okay, John Woodfine's D4R sold. It's a bargain, like half price. It's probably better than half price. Now, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to use this. This is a piece of 10mm float glass. And what I've done is I've used spray adhesive, contact adhesive. You know, this is quick trip. And you spray it on there and on the glass. And then I've done it so that I've also got the grits showing. So you can see it's 600 through to 1500. Now, when I put it on the Stanton bench, it ain't going to slide. Now, I'm going to tip the camera down so you've seen Zoe's workshop sign for a while. I'm going to tip it down. All right, give me a second. Tipping down to about there. Okay, so it's, it ain't going anywhere. Oh, one of the other things I'll tell you while I'm at this stage is, this is the headless host. On my bench, moving forwards, and I've got one that I'm dropping off to a customer on tomorrow night. This is the front of the apron. and you'll see it's got these dados there for the cushion strip to go into. I'm also going to run a strip down the back and give him the cushion strip as well to go down there, because it really does make a difference for this thing resisting, if it's on the front here, resisting movement that direction, on top of as well the legs that that John makes for them. Coffee. I'm sorry about the not seeing too much. Come back to about there. Maybe that'll get a bit. Yeah, there we go. I'm back. Some people are probably saying, "Well, why'd you bother?" Now I need paper towel for this part, and I've got some water. Put a little bit of water on. Roll straight under. A little bit of water on the wet and dry. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tidy up the sole first. When you work on the sole of a plane, you can't just do it with nothing in there. You've got to put the blade back in, because the lever cap puts tension on everything. So I'll drop it in there first, spin that around. And I have a very bad habit of using the lever cap as a screwdriver. I'm sorry, that's the way I've done it since I was a kid. And the chip breaker goes up, the bevel on the back of the plane down. Remember I said this is a bevel down plane. So we just drop it in, and where the screw is, there's a big recess here for the screw to drop into. And see, it's moved onto this little guy, which advances the blade up and down through the mouth. And then this one here is also moves it sideways, backwards and forwards. I'm going to pop the lever cap in. Got to undo that screw just a little bit so it gets in there. Okay, now the blade is in, but obviously I don't want it to be all the way down, so I'm going to back it up. So what's happening here is my fingers are doing a little bit of a dance around the back there. Bring the blade back up. That's nice. I'm going to tighten that lever cap up ever so slightly. That's better. Got him. Now what I'm doing now is I'm sighting down the sole to make sure that nothing is protruding. The blade is well back. Now I can just go backwards and forwards on the emery. Now this is 600 grit, and it's float glass is extremely flat. There we go. Bit of a rag, and we'll give it a wipe. Look at what's coming off it. That, my friends, looks pretty good. You can see now the darker parts are where it hasn't been touched. So down there, the front is looking pretty good. So that's not bad. That's been very well looked after. The float glass now, what I can do as that panel is I can put it outside and wash it. I'm not going to go through the other grits quite yet. Well, what I might do is I might just quickly touch the back. Off you come. Because I've got to take it apart again. Now, why am I doing this in the middle? Well, because part of this, what I was going to do is disappear from the show. So, undo it a little bit more. And out it comes. Leave those guys over there. I'm going to give it a little bit of a touch on the back. As I say, plane blades aren't used for paring. They're used as a very sharp edge. So all I want is the right at the front of the blade to have a shine right across on the underside. And you know what? That's not looking too bad. We're getting there, getting there, getting there. That's pretty good. It's got just a tiny little bit of a roll off, but I can fix that with a Pro Edge. You'll be surprised. I'll go to the next grit down as well. So I'm going to 800 now. Jeez, it brings the shine up quick. It's looking pretty good. All right, move this one out of there. So how many people are going to come to the show? Oh, how about we do another draw? Or tell you the next person down the list. Yuck. All right, who we got next? Oh, who's this? Can you read that, Julie? There we go. Back in the late 60s, you used to grease the threads just in case a pattern had to be repaired. Found these were terrible screws. Okay. Next person there is waiting. So that's two double passes that you know of, guys. More coffee. What's the next thing I want to do? That's right. I'll bring that camera down here and we can have a look at the Pro Edge. What do you think of that colour match that I've done? People were saying to me last week, oh, Dave, you're never going to get that. You'll never get it. Well, I don't know. Mouse. There he is. Did you see the picture of the mouse that I put up on Facebook? Mouse or a chinchilla, I don't know what it was. Some guy's just giving it a little scratch on his tummy or on his neck. The thing was in heaven. Let me see if I can go to this other camera. Just there. All right. She says, thanks, Dave. Okay. Here we go. Now, this is, I'll just do a quick talk about the different belts, because these are always very confusing if you don't know the system. Now, on here I have the 60 grit ceramic belt. Now the ceramic belt is basically the do-all belt, and they come in a 60 and a 120 grit. So this is the 120 ceramic, and that's the 60. I use these most of the time. They do aluminium oxide, so that's 60, 120 and 240 in aluminium oxide. They look very similar to the ceramic, but they're slightly darker. And these are, you know, they're just your standard kind of sanding belt. And they don't last a long, long time. These ones are for just carbon steel, and these ones are for high-speed steel. So they're the ones that people normally get. These guys here are what's called zirconium. Now you can get these in 60 and 120. Sorry, these are for the high-speed steel. This is a do-all. You can still do carbon steel with these. These are probably your best bet. And then you step up to the Trizact. And let me see if I've got all the Trizact belts here. There's one. Okay, so this one, they're kind of a pyramid block style of belt. Trizact, T-R-I-Z-A-C-T, I think you pronounce it that way. These are made by 3M. And this one is a 600, equivalent to a 600 grit. And then we start to really get out of the area of just ordinary sharpening to these. This is the next Trizact. This is equivalent to 1200 grit. And then we go to this guy, which is the same as 2 microns. This is a 3000 grit. So they're your 4 different belts. They also do a diamond belt. I haven't got any of those. But, you know, hi Frankie, CNC and Woodworking, Alex Para, hi all, any suggestion on what to put on the end of logs to stop them splitting in Australia? Well, I can quickly answer that for you. I haven't got any in here, but I use a thing called end sealer, and it's a paint. You paint it on the end of the log, and you know it looks like white milk when you paint it on, and then it finishes off like a silicone. All right, now the machine. On the other side here, we have all of these holes, and I'm going to bring the camera in maybe even closer this way. So I don't know if you can see these holes here. There's all these holes in the side, right the way around, and then on the front here, there is what it tells you to do. So this is an indication of all the holes and what angle. So 15, 25, 30, 20, 30, all the way around to 90 degrees. Now, if you're not really all that clever and you forget things, this will tell you 30 degrees for bench plane irons. That's the one we want. So I'm going to set this up possibly about there so you can see what I'm doing. This is the tool table, and it's got this pin here, and it's also got a spot here for this to go in. So that hole there is where we're going to go, and I'm going to put this in the third hole down. That's 30 degrees, and then move that across and just tighten up. Give that a quick wipe. I just ran a little bit of what do they call it? 3-in-1 oil, which is brilliant stuff. Now, before I run it at 30, I'm going to run it at 90 degrees, and I'm going to tell you why right now. So switched around to there so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take the guard off, because with a plain blade you really do want to try and get it so that it's David, how are you doing? With a plain blade you want to get it 90 degrees on the end of the blade. I'll get the blade. I want the end of that 90 degrees to there. If it's even 89 or 88 degrees, there's only so much adjustment in the plane's body, and I'm going to end up not being able to get the blade parallel to the sole of the plane. Okay? So what I've got there, I'll take the belt off, so it's a matter of release that. Then I can pull the belt off. Like, oh, come on. There we go. And I'm going to swing it up to 90 degrees to there. Tighten the side up. And I've got the Allen key here somewhere. Thing is, I get everything prepared, and then I go, yeah, that's all good. And then I prepare something else, and it gets prepared over the top. Now down here, let's come back a little bit so you can see it. Down here is one of the lock points, and also there's another one right there. I'm going to bring it up to there, and I'm only going to tighten the front one at this stage. Now, bring this around to here so you can see. This is my engineer square, and this is the squarest square that I have. So what I want to do is I want to make sure, now I've tightened all of this up so it can't wobble around. I want to make sure that when I've got this blade tracking there, that it's dead square to that. Now how am I going to do that? Well, there's this guy here. So this has got a little adjuster on it, and we drop that in there, and it can slide backwards and forwards. This is a small hole. This is a slotted hole under that Allen key, under that Allen screw, I should say. Yeah, tip him down a bit more so you can see it. Now, I have already set this up to be square, so I haven't got to worry. There we go. That's very, very nice. The other way you can do it is you can put it there. And that's just perfect. But I could loosen those two, and I can adjust this guide there and then tighten it all up when it's perfect. So you do this without the belt on. I really should do a video on this thing. The guys at Sorby said, Dave, we'll give you a machine, but we want you to do a video on it, and we want to have a quick look at it first, so you don't go telling anyone how it the wrong way of doing it, because Sorbys have done this absolutely perfectly. And every time that I use the machine, I refer back to their book and their videos as well, and they're brilliant. So they're just trying to stay with conformity, and I agree with that. Totally agree. So there you go. You have disclosure. You know that Sorby sent this out to me, and I'm very, very appreciative of it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, except for they can't really vet me doing this one, can they? Because this is a live show. All right. Let me see. Where are we up to? So I've got it at 90 degrees, set perfect. So I'm going to relax that, and I'm going to take it back down to 30 degrees and put the belt back on. Now with the belt, see it's got little arrows. The belt must turn in the direction of the arrows. So the belt is going to go that direction. So see, that I'm going to have it so that the arrows are facing up at the back and down at the front. And around there, and around there, and around that. Okay, and then I'm going to release up the top here. You can see this little lever here. That's the tensioning lever. And now I've set it up so it's going to track perfectly. So now I can tighten this all up. And it's locked at 30 degrees around there. So that's on the 30 degree point. So I'm 1, 2, the third hole down. And tip this down a little. And we're going to put the cover back on. Now you'll notice I've also got the pigtail on down here for the buffing mop. And that's not really a worry to me anymore. When I first got it, I thought, oh gee, I better keep on taking that off and putting it back on whenever I need it. But Derek Lark, who is watching at the moment, and Julie, his wife, who just won a double pass, came up with a brilliant idea. Now, Robert Sorby, if you're watching this, you should have a chat to Derek, because he 3D printed this. Magnets, cone, and I'll come back a little bit further. And this bad boy here, now covered. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. See, I don't know what it is with people down at Canberra, but they tend to be pretty cluey. How about we go for another draw? Who's the next person? Who's the next person? Whoop, it might pop up here. Who's that person? That'd be Paul. Congratulations, Paul. There you go. You're off to the show as well. You and one other. Now, if you decide that you don't want to go to the show with someone else and you want to just go on your own, let me know. Let me know if you're one of the winners. And what I'll do is I will get Rafflecopter to draw one more person, and we'll take it from there. Actually, before I do this part, I'm going to just hit the blade at the end at 90 degrees. Now, why am I going to do that? Well, because I want to make sure that I don't spend too much time sharpening. I'm just going to tap that against there a couple of times at 90 degrees. All right, here we go. I better put some eye protection on. I'll get it from down here. Oh, got to move along quickly. I want to get on to the next part. Back over here. If only the show could go for 2 hours or 3 hours, you know, I probably wouldn't have a marriage anymore. Here we go. Whoop. I thought it was here we go, but no. Have I got it plugged in? I do. Make sure that that lead is connected there. Not starting. Let's try this one. That lead might be broken. Or that plug not pushed in. There we go. Easy. Ta-da! As I say, you can see it tracks absolutely beautifully. Do a quick touch. That's getting very close to being perfect. done. So what we've got there is I've dressed the edge off absolutely beautifully. Ron, what's the sharpener called? This is called a Robert Sorby Pro Edge. And they are for people that aren't very good at sharpening. These things will help you out. There we go. Now, this one around to 30 degrees. Tightening back up again. They're so easy to use. Now the 60 grit really doesn't get hot. It's only when you get to the fine grits that these machines get hot. I don't think she would, Wayne. I don't think she'd like a longer show at all. There we go. So I'm just going to bring it up slowly. See how quick that is? As I said, these things are so fast. I've got a little bit of water here. I don't really need to... I'll show you how hot it gets. That's how hot it is. It's not hot. It's only when you get to the fine grits. I think we're there. We are there because I can feel the rollover. I can feel the rollover on the back. So we're there. I'm not going to take that rollover off yet. But how nice is that? That's 60 grit. We'll change the belt. I'll take these off so I don't talk too loud. Okay, so the cost of them. It depends. You can get a basic unit in Australia. Remember, the Australian dollar is not really good at the moment. I think it's about $1.45 US. Like, that's your exchange. So if I was to buy something in the States for $1, I'd have to use $1.45 Australian to buy it. And so that's nearly, what is that? A third to a half more. I'm not even thinking at the moment because I'm taking this off. So I can change the belt to a 120. Pop this back. I think they're around $600 odd. So you're probably looking around 400, maybe a little bit more in the States. And I'm looking for the direction on the arrows for the belt. And there, and lock it. And put this guy back on. You know that I'm being very good while everyone's watching, don't you? I'll put this back on. But this, I love this. Derek's done a fantastic job with that. Okay. And I can also relax this here now, like so. And drop it around to there to make it more convenient for me. And there's a hole in the back there to be able to get to the other one. There we go. And tighten it back up again where it is. And the back one. Beautiful. So that just, it lays it down so I'm not kind of working up like this. I'm working down again. Where are we? So I will turn this back on again. Whoop. What did I forget? That's done on that grit. And still touching it by hand. Alrighty. Take that one off and I'll do one more grit. I'll go to the 600. Oh, sorry, 240. And then we're going to do something else. You'll have seen enough to understand what we're doing. Cheap. Only $11.49 New Zealand. Okay, so the thing is, there's two models. There's the basic and the deluxe. The deluxe, I think, is around 900. The basic's around 600 and something. So you just have to be aware that, there's It's a little bit more expensive if you get the deluxe. The deluxe has got a few other jigs and everything that come with it. But the thing I like about this is it's quick. Now, it may not seem quick while I'm, in between belts all over the place, but what I'd do is I would line up a whole set of plane blades and chisels already set go, and I work one grit at a time. I go zap, 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 done, and then come back and put the next belt on and go for it from there. What's this? Yogi Steve, howdy from Great White North. Did you get a rollover wire edge? Just starting to learn, so thanks for sharing your knowledge. Yes, I did get a little rollover, and I'm not concerned about it at this stage. First time catching you live. Love the show, and you're well, hello, Mad Doggy. How are you? Pop this back on there. Should we see another winner? Who's the next winner? Okay. Greg, there you go. You're off to the show. Take your son with you. And we've got one left. So that's 4 double passes. And I say, if you're in a situation where you only need one, let me know and I'll flick it off to someone else. Okay, here we go. This is 240 grit. Now this is the area where it's going to start getting warm if I'm not careful. And also she's rolled over to the edge, and I can just lean on that a little bit and pull it back. That's not the official way of doing it, but you can do that. Beautiful. A little quench. And turn her off. Oh, she's getting sharp. Alrighty, take that off and come back to the other screen. Been on that screen long enough. Transition to there. Bob Mack, Australian-made standing chisels were made by Titan, you believe? Thanks, Bob. Bob keeps coming to watch to see if he's won something. Sorry, Bob, you didn't win the tickets. I'm terrible at it. All right, what's the next thing I'm going to do? I'm going to set up down there, and we're going to run the router. We've still got 15 minutes of the show left, so we're cracking along well. I wanted to take you through this process because I wanted to sharpen that blade up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly touch the back of it on the diamond stone. This is pretty coarse. Yes, it's amazing. I'll flip her over and do the other side. So I went extra coarse, so I'm going to just coarse now. And then fine, and then I'll go extra fine. So I've got to read the sign here. Fine is there. Now these were given to me by Matthew from the States. One day, these just arrived in my letterbox. How nice was that? That's so nice. Every time I use it, I think, thanks, Matt. Nearly there. Extra fine. I could have used the wet and dry paper, but I haven't. I'm going to give it a quick touch. Okay. Let's see the paper test. I haven't taken it down fine enough for the paper test. That's getting pretty good. It needs a bit more. Oh, it's getting sharp. I really need to take this down to 1200 to get a really, really nice result. But that's going to do me on that, because because we've got other stuff to do. I want to set the router table up. I'll put this down here so you can watch what I do there. Possibly there. It's been suggested maybe I should have a cameraman here, but you know, I get that, and it probably would be smoother, but I'd be very conscientious about having someone else here, and I'd probably stuff things up even more than I do now. Just put a micro bevel on with the home, or do you find it razor sharp off? Mitchell's going to be excited too. That's great, Greg. Okay, quickly on that, let me come back to this screen here. Quickly on that. There's this, I use this, which is their little floppy wheel, and I put the honing compound on that. And I don't use it on the underside of the blade, on the back, I use it on the front. And this will give me my micro bevel. It's just, you've got to be very careful with it that you don't roll the edge over. So it's one of those things that is, use it for a while and see how you go. But look, this is beautiful. Now, an edge won't give you a reflection, but the faces either side will, and they're almost mirror. It'd be a whole lot better than, you know, if I was to take the 3000, man, it'd be as sharp as a razor, 2 microns. All right, let's get the next part happening. As I said, we'll switch this camera over, and we're down there. All right. I'm not even going to turn that screen around. What I want to do is I'm going to use this coving bit. See this coving bit here? And I think I can get a pretty good match, down here, in there. So that's what I'm going to set this up for to start. So to do that, I need to take that cutter out of there. And where are we? I think I'll need this little grabber. Like that, and bring this guy up. Now, for anyone who's not aware, the Triton router has got a shaft. When you bring it up, you've got to turn the machine off first, and this little plastic cover goes across the switch so you can't turn it on again. And there's a pin that locks in to the what would we call it, the axle or the shaft coming out of the armature. And then this goes on the spanner, so it's a one-handed operation, but it's not a matter of just crack it. Okay, you'd think that's loose enough now, but it's got 2 grabs. I can't take that cutter out, it's still rock solid. So I need to crack it again. Got it. Out she comes. It's a safety feature. Just about all of them do it these days. I'm going to put the coving piece in. Hear that? Don't let the router cutter touch the bottom. Bring it up a mil or 2 above, and then tighten it up. Finger tight, and then use the spanner, if I can see where it is. Make sure it's tight. Now, anything over 1 inch, you have to slow your router down. So there's on the back of router cutter packets, it should tell you the speed, the RPM that the cutter will turn for every diameter larger than 1 inch or 25 millimeters. So this is around 32 millimeters. I'm going to drop this down from around 21,000 RPM to possibly 18,000. Now with the Triton, there is in the instruction book, there's a list. It will tell you, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as the adjuster. Now, that's not 1,000 through to 6,000 RPM, it's just their graduations. So I'm going to turn it down to 5. Going to lower it down. Just slow it down a little bit. And I'm going to also make sure that I've got an insert that's not going to expose me to danger. So, just as long as that insert is bigger than what the cutter is, will be good. And that one is, and I can rotate that and lock it, and put this one back where it lives. So that's 1 3/8, which is 35 millimeters, that insert. All right, next thing to do, make sure you don't have anything lying around on the bench, because if it rolls over whilst you're moving the timber from there over there somewhere and something rolls into it, that would be ugly, 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 ugly. I'll pop those in there so they don't roll anywhere. I have to make sure that I'm working off the back. Now I'm looking in there, and that's a pretty good height where I'm at, but I'm going to fine adjust it up until it's touching. That's touching, and just a touch more, because I want to actually cut into it. That's beautiful. All right. Now, what I'll be doing is I'll be approaching it from here. Now, see this guy here, if I've got it here still, you might see these things. Now, this is a pin that you put in there and tighten her up. That's so I can rest against there to bring it up to the cutter, and it's a pivot point. It makes things a lot safer for you. I'm not going to use the dust extraction at the moment, but I will throw my eyemuffs on because I do. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick read. A lot of time in the sun. A man's shop is his cast. Thanks, Dave. Order the muscle chuck for my 1/2-inch router. All right, Dave, how are you? Now we've got some pictures from viewers. Next thing I need to do is duck under here and turn the machine on itself, and then I turn it on from the outside. Remember, I have this safety guy here. It slides in because I don't want any little people coming in here. Turn her on. Here it's going slower. I'm going to advance it very slowly up to the bearing, and I'm going to stop. Now you can see what I've got so far. That's the profile, and that's what I'm having to match. I'm going to run it right the way down. I need to drop it down a little bit more. We're so close, but I need to be a bit deeper, which means I'm going to raise the cutter up a touch. Let it stop. Now you know why it did that? Because I didn't lock it. There we go. Locked it this time. Here we go. That's better. And the last one. So now I've got this. I should really go down just a touch more. It's very, very close. I can sand that in. That won't be a problem. Now I'm going to do a round over with the other machine down here. I'll bring you down to that one, if it all follows. I'll check that we can see everything. 5 minutes to go. We should be right. Yep, okay, that's all good. Take the earmuffs off so I don't shout again. Yeah, Arthur's watching. Good on you, Wayne. So what I've got here is an insert plate. This was just the standard trimmer base for the router. Remember that Jeremy came up and we gave one of these routers away. So I've taken the small little trimmer base off and I made this out of acrylic, and it lives in this bench that I made. Clean that crap out of there. And we'll drop the router in, the trimmer. It's unplugged. There you go, you can see. I always like to have the thing up there so I can see it and make sure. And I want the on-off button to be facing towards me, and that there. And click it. And then I can adjust this here. I can adjust the cutter up and down. So I need it to be 1/8, and I need to sight it against something that's light. Other direction. Ever so fine. And now I can drop the lead down inside, pull it through, and have it facing around this way. Why face it this way? Because, there we go, I want to put my dust extractor on there as well. Now I'm using the Festool CT26 with their separator on it, and I told people that I'd be using it today. I'll turn that to not working. And I use it with this hose here. I don't know if you can see that. This is a hose that I use instead of the little 27mm hose that runs between here. I find it gives me better suction than what I was getting before. Now, what I want to do next is I want to create the bottom. I'm just checking that the bearing is going to grip all the way around and it's not going to grab there. So what I need to do now is bring my temporary fence forward so that I don't have any surprises. There we go. Now I can use this fence to improve my dust extraction and also to keep it safe, so it's going to stay the same amount of cut all the way around. I'll throw these on, turn that on to automatic, turn the machine on. Going to raise it up ever so slightly. Done. Beautiful. So what we've got happening now is I'll spend a little bit more time on this, but I'm getting a round over there that's following through. I'll shape that by hand and I'll probably clean the end off that a little bit more, but that's going to be great. So I've got to do the trim on that one, which I'll still do here. I'll just raise the cutter up higher and that will take that off. Let's see if I can do that now while we're here. So I'm not relying on the bearing at all at the moment. Let's see how this goes. Oh, beautiful. Look at that. And I'll put across the front. That's fine. I'll put it back in the other cutter, raise it up ever so slightly, and that will get rid of that lip. This is great. All right, switch the cameras. Back to me. There you go. So if you use different router cutters in combination with each other, you can achieve profiles that you think, oh, I've got to go and buy that special cutter. You don't, not necessary. Okay, machines going in Florida, tornadoes are so erratic. Okay, you guys are having your own conversation. We're just about done. Let me quickly have a look here. We're going to have a quick look at some of the viewer stuff. We've got the last winner to have a look at. Tip this up. Of course, we've finished mucking around with the Pro Edge. We'll make sure that Zoe's workshop sign is there, so I stay in good with the family. Again, with the router cutters, it's just a matter of taking your time, go through it. Stephen Warback, the bank balance is getting lower. Well, Stephen, good. What can I say? You can't take... Look, what's the use of a graveyard full of rich people? Use it. You know, you've earned money all your life. It's your turn. That's the way that we look at it. It's Vicky and our turn now. We spent all the time and money on kids. They've gone through. They've gone... It's called spoil us. We're baby boomers. That's what happens with baby boomers. We spoil ourselves. Bob, do you ever sleep? Gosh, you have some gadgets. No, I never sleep, Bob. Well, I do, maybe 4 hours a night. What are we up to next? We want viewers. That's right. I get my run sheet. Okay. David Monet. Now let me have a look here. David, he says, hi Dave, thought I would send some of my latest pics of my progress in the shop. So I'm going to switch it over to the little slideshow I did. Okay, so here's what's going on. After we got the 1/2-inch plywood all up, I went round with Durham's water putty to fill in obvious cracks between panels. After all, this is a pole building, so all not square. You may notice that all of my shop stuff is piled high in the middle of the shop on my table saw and outfeed table, making them useless. I masked everything up with blue painter's tape. After that, I got busy priming with KILZ2 primer, Kills 2 primer. It's a water-based product. Not sure if you folks have that in Australia. Now to go with 2 coats, as there were obvious overlaps showing the primer and first coat. After I finished with the final coat and French cleats have been installed, I will send some updated photos. For now, I must rest my arms. 3 days of painting with those 12-foot ceilings has taken its toll. Perhaps a little Vegemite will make things right again. Dave, please use whatever you need to show the progression of the painting in the show. He says also, I've got a joke for you, and I'll switch over to me because this is a little bit of a dad's joke. Here's the joke. You ready? Do you ever wear a wristwatch on a belt loop or a hanger watch from your belt? If so, that would be considered a waste of time. Okay, that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I like it so much. It's terrible. Okay, so we're going to go back over to Don here in Alaska. Don, he says, I did manage to get the doors open eventually after I switched the batteries around to get the combination working. The table, sorry, this is in Alaska. This is the bay just outside Don's cottage up there, and this is the boat ramp up to underneath the cottage where his boat shed and his workshop is. The table is usually messy. I'm not sure why it isn't at the moment. Some of my last trips have been cut short by storms. The kayak room next door, which is that half-finished building area, wasn't ready until late in the season, so first thing before I can make anything, more boat gear gets moved out. It's much like people with their car in the garage, you know, but poor old Don's got to push his boat out. He's got a big bug zapper on the ceiling. Sometimes it's too distracting. Festool carts are stored at the bow of the boat. I'm getting excited now. I'll get some air into the boat tubes and pull the boat sideways and back a bit. On a sunny day, I move the carts out and onto the deck. How nice would that be? How nice, how nice, how nice. I think that's it for viewers. Let me have a quick look down here. Yes, that is it. It's 10 past the hour, and we're going to show the last winner of the tickets. There you go, Leroy. I know that you'll have a ball, and your wife can't wait to come along with you. She'll be able to come along. Now, also, if you're coming, Vicky is going to bring some of her earrings. She said, you know, what the, why, bloke's going to walk around, have a look at your bench, and their wives are going to be bored. So their wives can come into the little 3x3 pop-up that we're going to have and can check out some of the earrings that she will have as well, so that they can take something home from the show. Not that it's going to be restricted to just Vicky's stuff there. It's going to be so much stuff there. It's going to be worthwhile having a look. I have high hopes for it, and I've already booked the Canberra show as well, so I'll be doing the Sydney and the Canberra. Let's have a look here at what else we've got. For all the people who won, there you go. I'm a tragic. Leroy, you're awesome. Thanks, Dave. Not a problem. You were panicking, weren't you? Go, oh, I'm not going to win the tickets. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Enjoy yourselves. Get as much time in the workshop as you can. And I shall see you next week. Bye.